Thursday. If you are watching this live, if you are watching the replay, good day to you. I am Jevon Wooden, and I have a special guest. I'm going to let Daria introduce herself better because she can do it better than I can. So, Daria, please tell the people who you are and why human in the loop design is so important to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Daria Charina, and I've spent a good part of my career working in intersection of technology, operations, and people. And for over 15 years, I worked in the field of localization, where machine learning and large language models were pioneered. And AI and human in the loop systems are not new concepts to me as such. And I consider myself a builder. I've built functions and technology from the ground up. I've also founded and led employee resource groups. I advocate for working parents. And recently, I wrote a post on LinkedIn where I drew parallels between building a house, which was a very recent experience for me, and building a technology business. And my main thought there was that humans are and will remain at the center of any process and building anything physical or digital will remain human, and that we shouldn't forget that. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Now, that post caught my attention because, especially with we're in an age of technology. Like every single post, I feel like is AI or some type of technology. Every conference is just inundated with that stuff. So I love that you said no matter what, human and humanity is has to be a part of it. But why do you feel like we're seeing people so focused on removing humans out of seemingly everything, whether it's personal or professional? Where's that coming from, Daria?
Well, I think as humans, we strive for perfection, right? We strive for efficiency, and anything that gives you that scale and that efficiency, and anything that we can perfect, right? We want that in our lives, and I think in that sense, AI is almost viewed, I think, as a panacea, right? You
Mm-hmm.
think you're going to make your processes so efficient, everything is going to be done by this artificial intelligence, which I personally think is a misnomer. You and I talked about it, right? I think it's a collective human intelligence that we're accessing via large language models, and so I think it's just again our desire to do things faster, to do things at larger scales, and we're just tapping into the tools without really kind of understanding whether every single process can be automated, whether every single process actually requires AI. And yeah, it's a buzzword, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned like our conversation. We were talking about augmentation versus artificial.
Right.
And the thing that really is worrisome to me is high touch situations where you really require humanity. Those seem to be the first places that leadership targets. Like I think of customer service, customer
Mm.
support, right? How many of us go to these calls or get this chat bot who cannot answer the question that you're asking? It takes you 25 minutes just to get to the right space when a 5 minute call. Like what is that? Why do they not hire you to help them with the human in the loop design?
Well, it's hard to answer this question because again, I don't know what every single leader is after, right? But like
Yeah.
I said, I think it's kind of it's always, cost. We need to save costs, right? Or we need to make things more efficient. Maybe our customer response time is lagging and we need to make it shorter. We need to respond to more customers quicker. So let's see how we could do that. So there are these various performance indicators that are set for a lot of leaders that they are trying to hit, and problems that they're trying to solve for, and they feel like, well, if I just integrate AI, if I just get this LLM doing this for me. But I think the reality is, and you bring a great example when it comes to customer service, communication, right? Communication was one of the weakest areas, I feel, during my house building process. And I mentioned that in my post. I immediately felt like our builder was such a poor communicator. Some of his contractors, we just couldn't get very clear answers, half the time. And that's a huge pain point where, like, I understand that somebody may be great at what he does, right? But you need to be able to communicate about it. It's almost like if you're a craftsman, you need to be a craftsman communicator, if you will, in order to
Right.
kind of win the hearts and minds. And not every process and not every profession, right, will have as much AI application as maybe some other fields. But yeah, it's hard to answer, with the blanket response, why some leaders feel like everywhere AI should just go in and be inserted everywhere, where others, I think, are evaluating kind of more compliant and ethical approaches, and feel like, again, humans are essential.
That's a good point. Now, my question, like, you've been at this for a while, some time. How do you keep the human in the loop in mind as you kind of work through development and processes and identifying where you do want to leverage technology?
Sure. Well, you absolutely need to evaluate where you need those human expertise, right? That AI, again, can help scale and make our processes more efficient. But when it comes to ensuring that the output is right, evaluating those those deliverables from AI, you still need a human, because hallucinations are real, right? They still happen. I think I was looking into some stats across various models, and upwards 60-70% hallucinations across many models still. So you
Wow.
you cannot have that. It's not intentional, right? Again, these are large language models that need to be retrained, but you need to understand that humans are essential for kind of proofreading that result and ensuring that you have the quality output. And if you think about humanity and sort of our biases and all of the erroneous information that's out there that's been put into large language models, if anything, they're going to amplify it. They're not going to solve for it, right? If
Right.
you have very bad data, you're going to get bad output. So that's kind of that's where I land.
Yeah, it's interesting you talked about that. If you have bad data, you're going to get bad outputs. But I feel like what you're talking about, I don't know why. It feels like it's just like groupthink right now, and also a little bit of fear and a little bit of FOMO mixed in there. But that component of we have to have someone check this quality assurance, quality control is missing in almost every single case. Every organization that come in that tries to do this digital transformation, what do you say to them to kind of get them to slow down a little bit to focus in on that?
I would say exactly what you just said. Slow down, right? Take more ethical approach. Evaluate your business. If you're a business leader, what are the functions that really require that level of scale and that level of automation? Talk to your customers too. I think you will get a lot by just talking to your clients and understanding their real pain points. Is customer service, like, if like you said, leaders are going after those functions where human contact and communication is essential, is that really your problem? Maybe that's not an issue. Maybe it's on the technology side, and you need to get AI into kind of your engineers tech stack, rather than replacing your customer service agent. So I think, again, talking with your internal stakeholders, talking to your customers will probably help you get those answers. Just don't just assume. Like I said, don't view AI as a panacea.
You know what's interesting is really what we're saying is keep the human in the loop in a human in the loop design. It's like
Yeah, exactly,
you
exactly.
need feedback.
Communicate, talk, exactly. Keep business is human, right? Keep that mantra, and talk to humans. See what they say, and again, nobody but your customer will tell you honestly what their pain points are, and why they're leaving, or why they're not willing to pay for your product, what you want them to pay for a product. Talk to people. Yeah.
Absolutely. And with all of this said, where do you see, like, what if we were 3 years from now? What would you think the space we're in right now? Do you think it's going to mature? Do you think it's going to cause some challenges we're not seeing right away? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's tough. Three. Everything's changing so fast.
Yes.
But I am an AI optimist. That's how I see myself. I'm extremely optimistic about technology and what it can do if applied properly, right, and ethically, and we have some guardrails, and there's compliance in place, right, and um I think if anything, within 3 years, we'll see almost that reaffirmation of human intelligence and human connection. And I think what we're starting to see, for example, I'm seeing these posts pop up where like we're looking for storytellers, we're looking for humans that can tell stories, right? We're looking for great communicators, we're looking for empathetic leaders. I've been seeing that a lot. So all of these, essentially human qualities that come into the forefront. And so I feel like in 3 years, we'll see more of that, where AI will help us reaffirm that we really do need that. We need to bring them back to life, and we need to focus on those human connections that we felt maybe were going to be replaced with AI.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I just wrote a post about that. How, like, we talk about reskilling and upskilling and all these other things, but it's really coming back down to the foundational skills. What some folks call soft. I don't like that terminology because
Yes.
it's foundational to us as humans, as humanity.
Yes.
So thank you for reaffirming that. Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's going to be so key. And you know, when I think about you mentioned kind of bad data gets bad output. Is there a way, as regular common place people just going about our daily lives, is there a way that we can contribute to ensuring that good data is going in so we can help make sure the output is good?
Well, I think, you know, you want to have diverse sampling in your data, right? You want to audit your data for that level of diversity, so that you don't have you don't want your AI to reaffirm your bias, which happens. And I wrote another post fairly recently about that, where I asked ChatGPT to give me an image of me based on our interactions, without actually providing any photos of me or anything, but based on kind of some of the interactions I've had. I said, can you tell me how I look like? And I apparently am a 30 something white male with a smartwatch, right? So this is an example, right, of where it didn't do anything wrong, because it was based on kind of the language that I've used within those interactions, maybe a highly technical terminology. It sort of made those conclusions, and they were not necessarily wrong. It's what's it's basing its opinion on is bias, right? So when you don't check that, when you don't have enough kind of diversity in your data, you're going to continue to get that. So yeah, I think we need to solve for human issues to our data to get better, right? And I think every organization, like, you look at your data samples first, right, before.
Right.
Don't blame let's put it this way, like, don't blame AI for the output, blame the data.
Yeah, and also again back to being able to trust that data. Being able
Yes.
to confirm. We see a lot of cases in all industries, all fields, from legal to medical, like people just taking what came out of it and using that, and those hallucinations coming back to bite them. Cases that
Exactly.
never existed, stuff like that.
Yes,
So,
or websites that are made up, or
yeah.
artworks that were never painted, or things like that. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so as I know, we got to check and make sure the references are solid and all of that stuff. But what I'm also seeing is everyone that uses it is starting to sound the exact same. So how do you recommend, like, as a force multiplier, how do you recommend actually using these tools versus just putting, like, hey, do this, and then it comes out?
Yeah, I think you can definitely improve. Like, AI can help you improve your writing, but
Mhm.
not write things for you. It can tell you how it can improve your writing or your speech, or give you some pointers, but don't make it do things for you, right? So I think it's all in essentially how you prompt the large language model, and don't make it sort of a doer, but make it more of, I'm suggesting, right, make it your tutor, if you will, right? I'm suggesting that you do this or try that. I think that's probably a better use. But also, like I said, I'm thinking of what we as we value craftsmanship, right? As human, like we value handmade things. We pay more for for like
Yeah.
beautiful things that are handmade and unique. So think of yourself as that product. Like, do you want to be sort of a cookie cutter template, or do you want to maintain that uniqueness and craftsmanship in your communication and your personal style? And I think that's exactly to your point. Like, you don't want to sound like everyone else. You want to maintain that. So you can use AI to amplify your uniqueness, if you will, but don't use it to just kind of replicate what everybody else is saying.
Yeah, I love that. Think of it. We like handmade, crafted things, right? Think of
Right.
yourself. That is a bar if I've had ever heard one, Daria. I like that one. Can I use that?
Oh, sure, sure. You can take that analogy, but I believe in that because, again, I think as we see more and more of that, like the other day I was watching a video about fashion mass market, and again, like what's happening with the fast fashion, and do we want to become that as humans, right? Or again, do we want to stand out? Do we want to maintain our unique voice? So it's for individuals to kind of think for themselves, right?
Right.
We could definitely benefit, like I said, from AI in certain situations, and to scale our processes and to make things more efficient to get faster output. But will it apply across, across every single field and every single task? Probably not.
Yeah, and to that point, I know you mentioned that some industries and spaces are adapting it at a faster pace. Which industries do you feel, or not even industries, what tasks do you feel benefit most from where we are with AI right now?
Well, I think agentic AI, right, is also another kind of hot area right now.
Mhm.
And I think, creating automations where it's most suited, where again you have, you know, you sort of hit a hit a rock because you don't have enough human resources, or humans that you have do not have bandwidth, but you need to do a specific task because you either need to service your internal stakeholders or your customers. Think about whether an agent can do it, right? So
Mm.
that's where like agentic AI is becoming very applicable. Think where, kind of like where you would have one or two humans, but you don't have them. And maybe there are things that they would be doing manually, doing research or whatnot. Is there a way to build an agent to do it? um that's where I think AI is best. You can probably build an agent to code for you, but again, you need a human to check the code. You can build an agent to do a research for you, but you need to check that output as well, because again, hallucinations are high. But you can save those, I don't know, 5-6 hours that a human would be taken out of their day to do that task, and delegate it to an agent.
Awesome. No, that's good. And I know, yeah, you mentioned coding. I hear a lot of people talking about vibe coding right now,
Yes.
using the agents and everything. I know a lot of folks are like, man, this is great. And I use AI, but I don't feel like I'm using it to my full capacity. So you're on a whole different level than we're aiming to be on, Daria. But how how do we at least start to learn the basics of leveraging, where we're not just getting that generic output, or those generic presentations or whatever it is?
Sure. I mean, there are plenty of prompt engineering courses available on LinkedIn that are free. My recommendation would be learn how to prompt engineer, learn essentially how to get the best out of large language models, and iterate as well, right? Because you can try to test out multiple, right? You can compare your output within Claude and Gemini or ChatGPT and see, okay, this is better, or this feels like my prompt is doing a better job within this model than the other. So it's a lot of trial and error, but I think becoming a better prompter, if you will, is probably the first step.
Okay. Yeah, cool, cool. And before we conclude, I got to ask you, do you have any favorite tools?
Do I have any favorite tools?
We got to ask the expert, because a lot of people, when they hear AI, they think ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, but there's AI tools for every single thing. So, do you have any favorites?
I honestly, I am kind of using those three to various degree. Those are
Okay.
sort of the tools that I've been using. And Grok is another one that comes to mind. And there are lots of players now on the market that allow you to test variety of prompts against different models. So maybe look into those. But yeah, I would say those are the three that I've used for different things and to varying degrees. So by no
Yeah.
means an expert. I'd say I'm probably with everyone else. Trial and
No
error.
worries at all. Yeah, no, this has been fun. Oh, one more thing before I get clue. I noticed also, even on those three, like certain models, like for example, Gemini will tell me it can't do certain things, whereas ChatGPT will just try to do it anyway. So,
Yes.
is there a way to ensure that there are certain guardrails on what it tries to do, or is that just embedded in the back end?
Yeah, I think you maybe you it depends like what's in your data, right? And what it may sort of see as inappropriate or not willing to perform a task because you're asking. I think like I was trying to make a cartoon version of my daughter's photo, I think on one of them, and it wouldn't do because it's a child's photo
Yeah,
and it violates some sort of a guideline. But if anything, if that happens, that's good. That means that the guardrails are in place and it's sort of trying to, have this like checks and balances within itself and saying, oh, maybe I won't do that.
right.
you know? Um, but yeah, they apply to varying degrees across different models. So it's hard to say, but I agree that I've seen that too, that sometimes you get that I'm not
Yeah,
going to do
I
this
actually
for you.
like it because I'm like, okay, great. It doesn't just try to do everything, so I'll take
Yes,
that.
yes.
Well, Daria, this has been a fantastic and fun conversation about human in the loop design and AI. So, how can the folks connect with you?
Best way to connect is on LinkedIn. And again, look out for my posts. I post about a lot of things: AI, human in the loop, parents. Um, yeah,
Yeah, no,
follow me
no.
on
Thank you
LinkedIn.
so much for sharing your knowledge and just bringing the energy. Everyone who's watching live, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to share this with your network. And if you are not following myself and Daria, connect with us on LinkedIn. And for me, connect with me on YouTube. Just search my name, hit that subscribe so you don't miss other episodes. And remember to keep ascending. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.